Hello, I am your host today, not Jack Stewart. I'm Trade Better 99. I also go by Harrison. Thank you so much for everyone coming here today. I am excited to be here. It looks like we have a great group. Um, Liam is here from Jeremy's group, and who is my realtor. So I'm excited to be here for this. Steven, we've messaged back and forth a little bit. It's great to see you from Canada, and Ryan and Keisha from Toledo, I believe, correct?
Correct.
Excellent. Yes, we briefly met in Vegas, but it was just one of those situations of, oh, it's like you were busy, I was busy, and here comes trouble, the financial firefighter. So, yeah. But thank you for coming to this week's get together. This is a rather informal one. I guess what I can do with my update is that I've been so I was previously looking at a 1-1 in the west side of Pittsburgh. It was a quadplex four. It honestly it looks a little too good to be true, and looking at the area, it's probably about right. It was it I was thinking, oh, it looks like you could get 650 per room, and I would be honest with you, it looks like it's more about 450 per room, and you're not going to be cash flowing the way that you think. So that was one thing, and then there was another one. Let me pull my screen up here just so I can
What area did you say that was
let
in,
yeah,
Harrison?
let me share with you. Um yeah, you can just say not Jack too so, for easy. Um so yeah, it was this one here in Coropolis. I don't This is where I'm trying to learn the area. I will tell you that I know Ohio. I know the pronunciations. This is kind of a, you know, trying to figure it out. So what's interesting with this one is that it's a quadplex, but they're all 1-1s. And I'm okay with it. I mean, it's one of those where I have a duplex and they're all 2-1s, and I'm more okay with the more transient nature, but it looks like that there's 1-1s in this location as well, and I'm not seeing any sort of movement on them. So that's why I'm not proud, or I don't have the pride to say that, we'll keep going at this one, and it's just like, all right, let's move on. I'm all right with that. So this was one that I was, I'm okay with it if it's gonna go to somebody else for a better price or whatnot. I'm okay with that. Or and oh,
Harrison, do you know Liam?
just introduced. So I know he
Okay.
works with Jeremy. So
Yeah,
Harrison, you were
okay.
on the call last time, weren't you? Or no?
no, not last week.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
Well, it's
Jack
good to
was
meet you.
actual. It's a great meeting as well. Yeah, no, it's unfortunately I've had a very hectic work schedule. It's been 60 hours a week. It's that time of the year, unfortunately. So I kind of put my headphones on and just said, I'm ignoring work right now. I don't care. So I promised Jack that usually Jack and I we go every other week just to make it so that we can have this meeting as much as possible. But yeah, so anyway, this was also 101 Dempy or Dempe. I don't know how you pronounce this, or Demp. But this was an interesting one. I liked the layout and everything. It was very pretty. The part, I apologize for clicking through fast, but um yeah, the deck was a little old. That doesn't bother me. But I guess what concerns me right here is the slope. I've living in Virginia, I guess I kind of have the PTSD of a lot of runoff, and I know that is kind of a thing in Pennsylvania, or specifically the Pittsburgh area as well. So I'm always just a little leery when I see sloping towards the house, just because there's more chances of foundation problems. So and it's not moved. It's, I think, gone down about 10,000, 5,000, since its opening. And I'm betting that, I mean, this probably just looks like lighting, that the roof looks okay. And then also, oh, I guess the chimney might be a little rough shape. Anyway, but that's that was last week or the previous time. So let me stop sharing here for the moment. I actually want to share. I'm sorry, I'm monopolying or monopolizing the conversation, but I have one property here that Jack actually sent me last night that I literally texted Jeremy, I think 20 minutes ago, and Liam, I might be needing to get your info so I can send it to you as well.
Sure.
So I have been planning to do my property in Akron, Ohio is actually a duplex, and I was planning on staying multifamily the whole way because it's I know that area, I know that style, but it's one of those where actually this property popped up here at in Butler. It's on the more south side, not I guess in what's called the island, so it's a better part of town. Looks cute. I mean, it's one of those. It's definitely if you know the Butler area, it's a working class town. I think the only thing that bothers me is the neighbors. It looks like they kind of let the vines go. It's on a hill. Once again, something that I'm not used to. I'm
Yeah,
used to.
you'll learn to get used to that
I
in
know
Pittsburgh.
that's the big thing is like I'm used to Virginia and um, Ohio, which are flat. It's like you don't even the mountains are flat.
We
So
have
it's
we have Pittsburgh flat here, which is
yeah,
still on a hill, but
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, but so I mean it's just like little things here. I mean, I'm always kind of leery about I see the dog cage or I'm always leery about that because that's usually fixes here and there. But actually what these are long-term tenants. So they plan on staying, but it's one of those that I inherited tenants from my last property. So I always want to make sure that we kind of, we do a feel out and see how it goes. They said that it's new HVAC, new hot water, newer windows. And once again, someone in Ohio who's used to seeing a little bit of dampness in the basement. This kind of made me say, "Oh, this looks almost Texas Chainsaw Massacre right here," but I'm not sure if that's a right way to say it or if it just looks about par for the course.
Hey,
Could
Harrison, before
could
you
use
go off
cleaned
this, can
up
I
for
ask a couple
sure.
questions?
Huh?
Can I ask a couple questions before you go
Oh,
off these pictures?
please do, of course.
Two things. I
Sure.
was listening to Omar saying if there's no water, there's a problem
Right.
in a
Yeah.
basement.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So
Then the next thing is why do most of the things back in Pittsburgh have ceiling tiles or other kind? Is that a drop ceiling or what is that?
that's a good question. It
Are they
looks
trying
like
to
a drop
cover up
ceiling.
cracks and plaster? See all this.
Yeah, right there. I know that once again, great point, Jim. My guess was it was just a drop ceiling, and I don't think it was. It doesn't look like plaster, but
I don't think that's a
yeah.
drop ceiling. I think that's a glue onto something.
Oh,
Your
okay,
thoughts,
that's a
Liam?
good find.
I
Yeah,
think
so
there's
back,
I think they're called tack strips
Hmm.
Uh-huh.
above that, which is like thinner pieces of ply or whatever.
yeah,
Like
there's one by that's an old school type of ceiling that they used to install in those houses. So they take one
correct.
by, run across the ceiling, and then that gets stapled and it
Hmm.
goes through that way. So it's that's not they're really not cover up anything. That's just a
Yeah,
decorative
Yeah, I'd
ceiling that
say
they used to install
yeah. I
back
mean
in the
that's
day.
pretty that picture there. It's pretty typical of what we see. We
okay,
do see drop ceilings a lot, and like depending on the age of the property and if it's been updated or not in
good
a
to
lot of
know.
these rentals. But it's pretty typical. Typically not covering anything up that's
When
concerning.
they're
Maybe they're
updating, are
running
they
like
taking all that out and putting regular drywall in?
it depends. It depends on the area, and I typically would go by like rents. So if it's like a nice area, you're trying to fix up the units in a nice way.
Right.
Maybe like if you go by rent amount, like maybe if it's over like 1,000 or 1,200 bucks a month, I would probably take out the drop ceilings
Okay.
because it's like a higher aesthetic, like make it like a nicer unit, higher end feel. If that's what you're kind of going for on the back end of the rental, I would probably take out the drop ceilings and do drywall. But if it's like a more C class kind of cashless centric area and you're kind of already doing everything else in the unit decently, then you can definitely just leave the drop ceilings as long as they look decent and
Right.
you replace any tiles that maybe had like a previous leak damage or something like that. But sometimes
Okay.
it's justified. Other times I don't think it's cost effective to get rid of every drop ceiling in a unit.
Gotcha. What about any possible lead on the door casings and jambs? Are they actually testing those on rehab, or are they just going over it?
So usually with the lead stuff, I don't think I've ever submitted an offer, to be honest, with people electing the lead-based paint contingency.
Mhm.
I feel like sellers around here would kind of look at that and be like, I don't know, I feel like they'd scoff at that a little bit.
Really?
And also most of these places have been updated at some point in the last couple decades when they weren't using lead-based paint anymore. So it's not really something we run into a lot. I know we talked about this a little bit last time, Jim, like the
Yeah.
remediation costs around it.
Yeah.
But no, typically people aren't testing, especially on rentals. If it's like an owner occupant home or something like that, then or like you're flipping something, like that's something you want to look out for because that type of buyer client or buyer pool will be looking for that stuff more closely. On the rentals, uh, number one, these places have most likely been updated to a point where they don't have lead-based paint just around everywhere. And number two, it's just not something they look into on the rental side. That's
I'm
at
more
least my
worried
take
about
on it.
years down the road if they start enforcing,
Right.
if they majorly start enforcing lead, because they're already doing it in Lumberjack's area. They're not
Yeah.
doing it most of the other place. Like in California, we have to test, but they don't really enforce it. But once they start tagging it, man, it's going to be expensive and expensive quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, there are some, actually, there's a couple grant programs in the city for lead pipes and lead paint, I think. Um, so like the lead pipes, like I think they go by area now, or you can apply, but they'll go by area and kind of reach out to people and say, hey, if you have any lead pipes, like they have a grant program because they're trying to turn all those over and get them replaced. So the city actually has a grant where you can sometimes get that paid for by them.
But
Goes,
that's
and I think
city, not county.
I don't know. It's one of the two. It might be the city. I think it's the city. That's
Okay.
the
I would
first
I
that
would
comes to
imagine
mind.
it'd be the
Yeah.
city. They
I
have
think
more
it is.
dollars.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that particular like municipality, the city of Pittsburgh, I
yeah.
Right.
think is what it is.
That's good to
However,
know.
Sorry to
they are
interrupt you.
doing that here in Toledo.
So we said, Ryan?
I said sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, now, Jim, that's a good question because here in Toledo, they are doing that. They are enforcing that. So I actually heard an ad on the radio the other day saying, "Hey, if you guys are tenants, make sure that your landlord has their lead certification." So they are pushing that real hard
Yeah.
here in Toledo.
Yeah. That's a big thing in Cleveland right now. That's actually why I don't invest in Cleveland because they're pushing it hard and they're checking every 2 years. It started at 700. I heard it could go up to 1400 every 2 years. It's pretty nasty. Akron is not, and thankfully my testing was okay as is. It was my property was built in 65, so at least I'm kind of in the clear at that point. But yeah, that's going to be a big thing, I think,
Well,
in
that's
Cleveland.
my whole point. I'd rather
Yeah,
get into it, deal with it from the get-go.
right,
Have it done, have it rehabbed, and rent it out for the next 20, 30 years, and
right.
you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, yeah. So no, it's a great question. So yeah, I guess to Liam's point, I haven't heard anything while doing the research in Pittsburgh about that, and yeah, I mean, I'm willing to be humbled. You're right. These houses are old,
They're going to
but
be rolling out
yeah.
rental inspections in the city soon.
Hmm.
Because in the city of Pittsburgh, they don't have any occupancy inspection, where a lot of the
Right.
municipalities outside the city they do. When we're doing those occupancy inspections outside the city in certain municipalities, they don't really look for tests for lead-based paint, but who knows when the city rolls theirs out, supposedly sometime this summer, and they start doing those, maybe that's something they're add to their, list of items to look for. We'll
Okay.
see.
Yeah. That's good to know. So thank you. And then so yeah, I guess so that was the property and everything, which was really I think informative. And then So yeah, this is the part where I go to next, is that I do Rentcast. I know a lot of people that do Rentometer and stuff like that. Um, wait, oh, did I free and then single family. All right, search. And so, the estimated, I mean, this is not right. Oh, wait, I'm looking at the wrong one. My apologies. All right, here we go. Butler. Property type. Single family, 3 bed, 1 bath. Okay, yeah, so this is what I've seen. So the price for it was yeah, 67,000. They were the estimation, I think I put it at maybe 500 a month. And I mean, so Jack was saying that all day, every day, you can get between 950 and yeah, 1100 in this. So I mean, it fits within that realm and everything. It sounds, I guess, Liam, this is my question for you, and I sent it to Jeremy too. It's like this almost sounds too good to be true. Is that
In Butler?
in Butler? Yeah.
Yeah, Jeremy lives in Butler. He has a
Yeah.
house there, so
Yeah.
he definitely knows that area really
Yeah.
well. I haven't transacted a ton up there. I've been there
Hmm.
a couple times for properties.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Rentcast I've heard of. I haven't used it a lot, but Rentometer and the Bigger Pockets rent estimators is pretty good too. Um, as long as there's like decent amount of rental comps pulling from Rentometer and Bigger
Yeah.
Pockets that you can look at like in that general area, then you can, I mean, you maybe want to be a little bit conservative, but you can
Right.
pretty much take that to the bank. Like that we find that those are pretty good and in line with like market rents from our experience, like leasing and stuff like that. We find those two sites are most in line with the market.
Excellent.
And that was what, a two-bedroom unit?
It was a 3 bedroom, 3 bed, 1 bath.
Yeah, that I mean that's a good
So
size unit. You'll get a good
yeah.
premium on rents just for having three bedrooms there. So I mean 1250 sounds pretty good to me. That sounds
Okay.
about right.
Yeah. And I was on Zillow and looking at other places in that surrounding area. Yeah. I saw right about that is between 1,000 and 1,300 for
Yeah.
rents. So
Yep.
no, that's good to know. But that is my new search right now. And I don't, Liam, you can tell me if I'm crazy looking at this or if there's anything that you think I'm missing.
Can you pull up the listing again?
Sure, no problem.
Yeah, the couple duplexes or like two to fours that I've gone to see in Butler were pretty nice, and it's a decent little area there too.
Yeah.
I think you get good prices and like good rent to price ratios out there because it's like a little bit removed from the city, but Butler is
Yeah.
its own kind of community up there.
Yeah, which I do like. And that the other two were not in Butler. They were further, I guess they were closer to the airport. Um, but this is like I have a pretty wide search, and I originally was looking at Butler just because it's out of Allegheny County, and so you're paying less in taxes and
I mean,
everything.
for a single family house, that price with three bedrooms and it doesn't look in terrible condition.
No,
I mean, that's it's pretty good. That's why I tell people sometimes, like, I mean, I default towards like two to four units. That's what I like. We
mm,
transact a lot of them. But I
right.
tell people sometimes too, like, if a great single family deal pops up, it's not worth passing on that in the hopes to find like hopefully find like a great duplex. So those can sometimes be worth considering for sure.
Yeah.
And like a generally nice community, like a single family house in Butler, you'd probably get a good tenant who'd stay there a while,
Hmm.
especially with three bedrooms. Like single family tenants will tend to stick around, take a little bit more ownership in the property, they'll cut the grass. So that can be like a really good scenario actually.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I like about it. And someone who sees a lot of driveways, this property has no driveways. It actually has side parking. I'm not mad at that. So it's one
Yeah,
of those
street
things.
parking is pretty typical
Yeah.
in a lot of areas in Pittsburgh. I don't really see it as a huge downside. On flips, it's something to consider for sure.
Right.
Uh, typically on the flips, you want to have some sort of driveway or garage or something, depending on the area. Some areas just don't really have them. It's just
Hmm.
street parking, which is fine too. But on the rentals, yeah, like it can be typical for certain areas just to have street parking and not really have designated off-street parking, and that can be totally fine. You just want to make sure like more so on the flips, but like if all the
Hmm.
comps have a driveway or a garage and then the one you're doing or looking at doesn't, you definitely
Right.
have to like account for that on the ARV side of things.
True.
If
Excellent.
you have on a house like this, let's say you just get it, you do a couple minor things, get a renter in there for a year or two, and then decide to flip it. That way, you're only going capital gains rather than regular income.
Mhm.
Right.
Does that sound like a plan that might work?
Yeah, it definitely could be. Just if you're doing, if that is kind of in the back of your head when you purchase it, I would just make sure that like the repairs you do are closer to flip quality than rental quality. So you might want to invest a little bit more in the rehab if in the back of your head you're being like, okay, I'll cash flow this for a year or two, see how that goes, and then maybe sell it down the line. I would just take care of, I would gear it more towards flip quality uh, than rental grade, I would say.
Gotcha.
But yeah,
yeah,
that can work
what
for
I would do
sure.
is I would have it just do some band-aids, get a rental grade so it looks decent, stuff like that, and then completely flip it,
Hmm.
meaning go down to stud,
Yeah.
clean it up. That's what
Yeah,
I'm talking about. That way you're cash flowing a little bit for a couple of years, and then you're taking advantage. And then if the rates do come down, you can just decide to flip it and keep it.
Well, I'll tell you what, in that scenario, like that you could go rent to own as well.
And there you go. Yep.
Which I actually looked into for my last property. It's actually, now that you're mentioning that, it's similar. Like it was similar purchase price to this, single family house, 4 bedroom, 2 bath. It was in really good shape, so I didn't really need to go crazy on the rehab. And the plan was just to burr it, like rent it out on the back end. But I ended up getting really good rents on it, and the tenants were, a young family, well qualified. So we looked into doing rent to own. So they're going to have the option to purchase it within 3 years at a certain price that works for me and works for them. And in the meantime, I get a higher deposit, I get a higher rent amount, and I get to cash flow for 3 years until they are in a position where they're ready to put a down payment down and get a loan and purchase it. But like in the scenario you're mentioning, Jim, that could be a good option because then you can gear more towards I'm going to maybe not over renovate, but I'm going to make it nice. I'm going to go more flip quality, more like owner occupant quality rather than renter grade, and then uh, kind of market it in a way where it's like, hey, this is the market rent, open to rent to own or something like that. And then you can have that conversation and screen people properly with that kind of in the back of your head too.
that's great. And I guess looking at the comments, Mark is asking, I want to know if Liam bought 808 to 810 Taylor Avenue for his portfolio.
One of my clients did actually. Yeah.
Oh,
One of my
really?
clients
Nice.
just closed on that like last week. Yep. One of my repeat clients.
That's great. I was looking just briefly at it. So is that the price range that you're looking at for that area? Or
That
was
one
it?
was well priced for that area. I can't remember if that was, I think that was, if it was 200s or 300s. I
It
think it
was
was 200s.
238
Yeah.
looking at it. So
Yep.
yeah, sold for 238.50.
Yeah, and I think that it was priced under that. We offered with an escalation clause. So
Oh, nice.
that one was well priced for the area. Duplex. So that one's in Avalon.
Right.
The next neighborhood over is Bellevue. They're very similar areas. I'd say Bellevue is like a little bit nicer. Um, but Bellevue typically sees multis trade in like the 300 to 350 range.
Oh,
So we saw Avalon as like, or that one on Taylor Avenue as like very similar to Bellevue, close to it, nice street, but it was priced at like 225, side by side duplex,
right.
updated, nice tenants who kept their units in shape, and lots of bedrooms in the units. So each unit had like 3 or 4 bedrooms, I think.
Yeah,
So that was a big thing too. If they were both 1 bedroom or two bedroom units, be a little bit different, but the cash flow and the price was quite good on that for units of that size in that particular area. So
that's excellent.
Going back to Butler,
Sure.
how is Butler as an area? Is it is it close to any like job sites? Is it like high rental demand? I know it's like 35, 40 minutes so out of Pittsburgh. So like I was looking at it, like the prices do make sense down there, but is there high rental demand down there?
Yeah, I wouldn't be too worried about like something sitting on the market forever with Butler. I think you have generally like a good uh pool of tenants to pull from. And also Butler is up north kind of near Cranberry, and Cranberry is like has gentrified a whole bunch of there's a lot of new builds up in that area. It's kind of blown up the past several years, decade maybe. So Cranberry is kind of like a good job hub where people might be commuting from Butler or live in Butler, but they work in Cranberry or something along those lines. And as people are getting priced out of the Cranberry area and those surrounding neighborhoods, they might, live in and choose to live in Butler where you can live a little bit cheaper, but still work or commute to somewhere like Cranberry or even the city. So I don't think you're there. There's more going on up there than you might think. And there's a couple different job hubs, and it's like more suburban than obviously like the city, but it's not like a rural area where you have like either a really low class of tenants or there's just really not many people looking for units to rent.
Okay.
Yeah. It
Thanks,
looks like
Liam.
it looks like you have a lot of trains and stuff around there. Are
Yeah.
people used to that, or
It depends. I mean, people are used to it if you're familiar with the area, at least. Uh, I would typically not buy right next to a like train track just because it is one of those things where if there's one right next to a train track and if there's one couple streets over or whatever, like and tenants are walking both of them, they're probably going to go with the one that is not right next to the train track.
Right.
But yeah, people are used to having stuff like that in their vicinity or in their area. I just probably wouldn't buy one right next to it because it's kind of just one of those things, one of those cons that people might be considering when they walk the place.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Because down here in Richmond, you're never more than a stone's throw away from a train track. So it's most of the people, it's like as long as they're far enough, they'll be okay with it. But yeah, I mean, there's houses selling for 850 to 1 million that are right on the tracks in downtown. But most of the time, they never last very long staying there. So. But I feel like it's very much an East Coast thing. I don't know why. It's just like if you get near towards more older cities that have either a lot of coal or other sorts of like natural resources from the past, that's usually where you see a lot of just trains in general.
What about a super steep slope? I know Pittsburgh has a lot of hills and whatnot down there, but what if it's like a lot more steeper than a normal slope? Would you avoid that?
So the one Harrison pulled up previously, where you mentioned the slope, Harrison.
Yeah.
I forget. I think that was in Coriopolis.
Yeah.
Um, that one I'm not too concerned about. That one's not bad of a grade or of a slope, and it's not right up against the house either. So it's definitely something to look out for. Like if you're on a big hill or like it drops off a freaking cliff off the back of the house, like I would look out for that. Number one, structural stuff.
Mhm.
Like if it's on the back of it, like, gravity will do its thing over time. But also, yeah, water infiltration and you will get runoff. So that one that you pulled up, Harrison, is
Yeah.
is I think perfectly fine. Like
Okay.
worst case, and what you can tell too is like what's the age of that house? When was it built? Because that'll kind of dictate the way the foundation was built. And
Right.
you know, with that one, it's just before I would go to walk, I'd know like, all right, when I'm going into the basement, let's see what the walls look like. What type of foundation is it? Is it damp down there? Do I see any signs of water previously, like kind of seeping in from the foundation? And if so, that can be fine too, but it's something to look out for when you're on a hill or some type of slope. And then worst case scenario, you have to put in some sort of French drain where that slope meets the property. So you kind of any water that does come off that hill is drained away, and that would be on the outside of the property or on the inside of the property. You do some type of sump pump system in and around the basement to take care of any water filtration or stuff that's coming in so it can get pumped out. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to avoid hills in general in Pittsburgh. Like you're probably near or on a hill in most cases. Uh, but that can be perfectly fine. It just depends what the foundation looks like. Where is the water going when you're getting a large amount of rain or runoff? And then you can kind of go from there and kind of decide, is this going to be an issue? Is this something I need to address? Will a French drain solve it? Or do I still want to be like kind of do that? So that's kind of how I would frame the thinking when looking at properties that are somewhat jutted up against a slope or a hill.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Sounds good. Because I notice in Pittsburgh too, sometimes these houses are on slopes, but then their front door, literally you come out the front door and it's the road. There's like there's no gap between like sidewalk or anything. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of these houses were like built into the hill back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see. Okay, for sure.
So, Steven, are we making a good case for Pittsburgh?
What's that?
Are we making a good case for Pittsburgh for you?
I would say so as in terms of affordability and like, definitely finding good properties in like more like C plus neighborhoods and stuff that does cash flow well. It's good. It's a good case.
Yeah.
Sure. The hill part, I gotta kind of get used to. I'm more used to like flat line,
Yeah,
but
the hills
Yeah.
and the basements and the street by street nature of Pittsburgh, it's all stuff out of state people would not be used to. But it's like totally something that can be easily learned about what things to look out for. So most of the times it's not a major concern. It's just kind of one extra thing that like Stephen, if you were working with Jeremy and I like one extra thing we would kind of let you or help you think about when it comes to making a decision or even before we go and look at a property, I'd be like, this is on a massive hill, like, probably pass, look at this other one or something like that. But it's pretty easy to manage those types of things once you actually get into it.
Hey,
quick question. How much would it cost to be? Sorry, go ahead, Jim.
no, no, are you gonna have them pull up a house because I'll get a question on it?
Not a
Okay.
problem.
I was just
Massive
gonna ask a quick question on how much would a pump cost? Like one of those
Yep.
sump
water
pumps.
pumps.
So I
Yeah.
got quoted for one of my properties recently that was getting I bought it for a burr. We didn't really have it was from a wholesaler, so we didn't really have much information on the property. And the basement was packed full of stuff, so it was hard to assess like what the basement really looked like if it was getting a lot of water. Turns out it was getting a lot of water. Like so once we hit rain season, the basin was taking on a lot of water and that needed to be addressed. So I got quoted a couple like drain like thresholds kind of in the front corner around three sides of the basement. They were going to put some sort of like French drain that drained into a sump pump system and then was pumped out. And then there was another threshold drain on the back by like this door that there was a lot of water coming in there too. And it was like 6 grand, which I was very happy with that price, by the way, because it could have been a lot worse. I think, yeah, like 5 or 6 grand to do all that work. And that would take care of all the waterproofing that was needed in that basement. Um, and that was a company called Advanced Basement Solutions. This guy, Zach Morgan, who I've had quote a lot of stuff like that. He does foundation repairs and waterproofing and like basement repairs. Um, so he's typically my guy I go to for that stuff, and I'm sure he's very busy in Pittsburgh.
Can imagine,
Yeah.
definitely.
But yeah, something like that. I mean, 5 or 6 grand for a sump pump system, depending on which company you use, and if you know, if you have like a good referral, because some of them I'm sure charge crazy prices, or they kind of give you a solution where it might be overkill type of thing.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
if you go to a reputable company that's going to kind of look out for you and maybe take the investor mindset where it's like, all right, let's address the solution. Let's not go crazy here. We build the foundation. Um, then you can get decent pricing. Like obviously, if any of you guys run into that, just let us know. We'll give you a referral for a company.
Okay, for sure.
Liam, I want to get your thought on this property that Harrison just pulled up. It's
Hmm.
been on the market for 295 days, and I'm curious as to why. Is it a location issue?
Mm.
Because the property doesn't look that bad.
Yeah, I'd have to dig in. Like typically when I'm looking at that, especially Butler too, because for some reason we don't do a ton of business up in Butler. Or at least I don't, but Jeremy living up there might know. But what I would do is I'd start looking at comps to see like, all right, what's the ARV here? Like, is it 250 or is it like 150? Um, like so I'd probably start by looking at ARV and then see like what are we looking at in terms of rehab costs? Because I'm sure at a $54,000 price point, there's going to be some stuff that needs addressed.
Right.
Maybe it needs a full cosmetic upgrade. Um, and then from there, let's see what like rentometer and bigger pockets estimator are looking at for market rents. Because this looks to me like it'd be a good burr, single
Yeah.
family burr, 3 bed,
Exactly.
one
That's exactly.
bath.
Yep.
Maybe you could throw an extra bathroom in there or half bathroom. You're working with 1,160 square feet, almost 1,200 square feet. You might be able to fit another bathroom in there, at least a half bath on the first floor, make it a three, 1.5, see what the rent looks like on that. And that could be a decent burr. And looking at the pictures here, it looks mostly cosmetic. Like you could probably get that, do like a decent kind of facelift on the interior. Maybe it's like a $50,000 cosmetic upgrade. Um, and they would rent quite well, I would think. But again, I'm not super familiar with the Butler area, so it would just be more like looking at the comps, what is sold in the area, Google Street View to see if it's like a sketchy street or not, and then kind of go from there to see if it's like truly undervalued and would be a good burr or not.
Yeah. Fair market rents is showing 1,600, which seems a little high, but I don't know the area either.
I
Yeah.
would venture to say that's probably skewed a little bit high. Maybe there's some higher comps. Maybe there's like a higher end street or neighborhood or section of Butler nearby that those
Yeah.
rental comps are pulling from, which is skewing the average higher. Um, but if that's the case, that would cash flow well on the back end.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to send this over to Jeremy.
Can you
Yeah, that
guys
could be
hear
a good
me?
burr.
Can you hear
It-
me?
yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Dude, I've been trying to talk for like the past 15 minutes. I think Jim, I think Jim purposely blocked me because I was
I
trying to
don't
say,
have that kind of juice. That's Harrison. He did it.
I was
Oh.
trying to say, Liam, we got some people here, like
Mm.
Elena, has reached out to Jeremy already.
Cool.
Ratchet and Rad are in the Pittsburgh area market also, so they might maybe need a little background of who you are and little introduction from yourself.
Yeah,
Oh
for
wow.
sure. So
Hey.
I'm an agent in Pittsburgh. I work with Jeremy on his sales team. So we work side by side with a lot of clients, whether they're out of state or local or whatever, and we're purely investment focused. So like I said on the last call, probably like 95% of our clients are taking an investment focus, whether it's like flips, burrs, turnkey rentals, short-term rentals, midterm rentals, whatever it may be, 2 to 4 unit properties. So that's like our focus. And yeah, we do it. We do a ton with out of state people as well. I mean, of those 90 or 95% of our client base, that's investors, probably 70% of those are out of state investors. It's just, and that our client base skews out of state and it skews newer as well. People trying to get their first property or first couple properties or do their first flip or whatever it may be. Um, so yeah, I've been working with Jeremy. He helped me buy my first property in 2020, and then we became friends. And he convinced me to get my license. And I was the first agent he brought on board when he started up the team in 2022. So I've been doing it full time since 2022.
Thank you.
But it's good to meet you guys.
Mm.
Now, one thing with that house that we just looked at, that's pretty much a cash, right? Because
Yeah, I
getting
would think that's
financing for a $50,000 house is almost impossible.
correct. I mean, that one, it didn't look that bad. I mean, some lenders won't lend unless it's a minimum loan amount,
Right.
like at a $50,000 price point, if you're thinking like, okay, I could do a 20, maybe it's in good enough condition to do a 20% down conventional loan. A lot of lenders aren't going to lend or
Exactly.
like do a $40,000 loan amount,
Right.
So I think probably the play on that would be, um, some type of hard money play or cash play where you're going to do it's shorter term, higher interest debt on the hard money side, or you just pay for a cash and get it renovated and kind of up to a point where it's, livable, tenant occupied, and then I would go and refinance at the higher market stabilized value of, in this case, call it 150.
Right.
Um, buy it for 50, put 50 into it, refinance, and hopefully it appraises for 150. And let's take your example, Jim, and say it rents for 1600. I think that's probably high, but let's take that case. That's a bird deal with uh, a bunch of equity in it and cash flowing every month. So I mean, to me, that's a home run.
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, but that's probably the play on it. I would think there's not a ton of lenders who will loan on that small of a loan amount.
Right.
Hey Jim,
Yes.
what we've been doing on those is doing a bridge loan because as long as the ARV is high enough, they have no problem putting you in a bridge loan.
Mhm.
And then after that bridge loan is done, go ahead and roll you into a 30 year fix.
Yep, I do know some lenders, local lenders that have that type of product. If you don't go the hard money route, Kyle Conacher at Federated Mortgage, some of them, like, he has a that type of loan product. Yeah.
Yeah. I have to go DSCR. I've been self-employed for 30 years.
Yep.
There's no other option. So, but yeah, I sent that over to
Yeah. So
Jeremy.
in your case, Jim, it's probably purchase it cash or do hard money, and then
Yeah.
once it's done, I assume you're going to buy an LLC if it's DSCR. Once it's done, you'll go to one of these lenders that maybe Jeremy and I will recommend, and they'll give you a refinance in the LLC, a DSCR loan.
Okay. Because a bridge loan is typically just a normal mortgage, right?
So you can do it
No,
under an LLC for sure. It
Do
just
you have
depends
to?
on what type of loan product. I think the bridge loans, my experience with them is they're a little bit harder to get done because it's kind of, and you can let me know. I think Ryan, you brought it up, but you can let me know if your experience is different. But with that one, it was a little hard to get done because it's kind of a combination between yeah, like a bridge loan and a conventional loan. So they're kind of applying the same underwriting standards that they would to a normal, like, conventional loan. So it's a little bit more involved. Um, and I don't know, I forget where I was going with that, but it's a little bit more involved on that side. So, I would still probably opt towards the cash or hard money, but
so
depends on the lender.
Yeah, this
yeah,
is why
so
I don't look too, it's why I don't look too much right now because my cash is tied up.
Yep.
yeah, for us, I mean, I've been self-employed since for the past 5 6 years. So typically, I mean, that's all I do is DSCR loans, and I haven't had a problem with that because they're still a hard money lender. The people that I deal with, um, so I personally haven't had a problem with doing that.
Perfect.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that can be a
Good to
great loan
know.
product. I
Yeah.
think, do you guys know, Mark, do you know OE?
I've heard the name.
He's kind of involved in the community a little bit. I feel like Mark has probably touched base with him. He's with
Yeah, I
Orange.
know. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know Oi. Yeah,
Yep.
he's Orange Juice Properties. Yeah, I know
Orange
he
Juice
works for Jeremy and
Properties.
stuff. Yeah.
Yep. So we worked together on, this is a deal that I don't know, Jeremy was out of town or something, so I helped transact this deal with OE, and it was a value add duplex, and he used that type of bridge loan product, and it went really well. Closed on time. It was a great deal for him. So yeah, and I think, yeah, you're right. It's kind of like both. It's sort of conventional loan, but they'll give you the money to do the rehab as well, and it kind of sunsets into a longer term conventional loan afterwards. And it was a great product, it sounds like.
As long as that ARV is good enough to cover
Oh
everything, and,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's the big thing in that.
Yeah, that's what I was getting to before I forgot where I was going, is they'll underwrite it to the DSCR and the ARV. So as long as that stuff is in a good spot and taken care of on the back end, but they'll look at that all in the initial underwriting, kind of like you're doing the purchase and the refinance in the same kind of one go, it seems like. But yeah, they'll underwrite everything to the ARV and the back end DSCR.
Okay. Thank you for that. So,
Oh, I didn't realize how far north it was.
Yeah, it's an hour north. So, or I was told, is that right? About
Anywhere from like 35 minutes, like 50
okay,
minutes, probably.
okay,
Sometimes Jeremy can get down to the city in like 35.
nice.
Sometimes, with traffic, it'll take closer to 50 minutes or an hour, maybe.
Okay,
But it's reasonable. I think that's not too bad of a commute if someone is coming to the city or Cranberry or something like that.
Well, one of those remote workers that's going 2 days a week into Pittsburgh.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I guess Liam, since you're here, I was that was something I was interested in. Is it seems like the employers in the area are pretty much all spread out through the area. They're not. There's no really any major employer, but probably a lot of mid-size. Would you say that or?
Yeah, the way I like to look at it is there's a few different job hubs
Mhm.
in and around the city. So obviously you have downtown,
Right.
which is big with like a lot of law firms, financial firms, um, UPMC headquarters employs a bunch of people, banks. Uh, so you have that. Plus you have the East End, which there's just lots of different neighborhoods with um, different all different types of industries going on. Duolingo has a headquarters there. And then you got like the tech stuff like
Right.
Google and Facebook and all that stuff in the East End. Uh, and then there's some other neighborhoods outside the city, like Robinson is west of the city towards the
Yeah.
airport. And that's a big job hub with lots of shops and restaurants and different offices and all these types of things. And then north of the city, you have Cranberry, which is kind of the same type of thing as Robinson. But those are two really good job hubs. So if you could find areas that are in driving distance or close to there, and as things start to bleed out from those areas, that's where we see like a lot of appreciation or really good rentals. Um, but yeah, we have a lot of different kind of job industries and job
Mhm.
hubs. And typically you want to be somewhere close to those if you want like, or within a half an hour of some of them. If you want like good rental demand and like a good class of tenants because they're going to be well employed.
Right.
Yeah, but we got all kind of stuff. Like medical is huge. Like UPMC
Right.
has hospitals and offices all over Pittsburgh. Um, so that's a big one. But obviously financial services, um, the tech scene, law firms, uh, they kind of are all the pillars of our economy here in Pittsburgh.
That's awesome. Yeah, great. And I see that, yeah, Lena, that was the question for you because I remember a few weeks ago that was your question about hubs and everything.
Yeah,
Um,
Robinson, Cranberry, and then
Thank
like
you. Yeah,
downtown
yeah,
it's
East End. Yeah,
fantastic. I'm writing everything, every word you're saying.
perfect.
great. And yeah, it's Andy, great to see you here as well. Ratchet, I believe, is in Cranberry, so that's and Flavio from
Uh,
Washington.
Correct.
Yeah,
My investments are predominantly, I have four investment properties. All of them are in Cranberry Township. Uh, but my buy box a little different. That's why I'm a little quiet. I buy pretty new construction properties in Cranberry Township or Moon Township, uh, which has worked well for me because I got very good tenant and very good rent as well. My uh, Liam, a couple of properties are generating above $3,000 per month rent.
That's great. Yeah,
Yeah.
Cranberry's the spot to be for that. That's awesome. Yeah.
And I was quietly listening to a lot of good knowledge from you. In fact, I'm exploring this Moon Township. You talked about Robinson and this area. I found a couple of areas maybe uh, in this call, or I can send you. Like I'm looking at a couple of constructions being going by DR Horton and Marana Homes.
hmm
And there is one place called where the Walmart is like 5 minutes, 3 minutes away, and Costco and all those things are pretty close. That is one area. And second is which area where the Moon Township, I think elementary school is there, close
Yeah.
to that.
So, Jeremy, my like business partner and friend, is big on Mute Township. He likes a lot of the communities kind of around the airport and that end of the city. He thinks because also I think there's a highway that just got put uh, in that vicinity, and his long term bet is like these communities along the highway towards the airport are going to start to blow up. Maybe you start to see newer development properties, like rentals, office space, and stuff like that. So he's kind of taking a long-term bet, and he likes those areas around Moon. So we're very bullish on those kind of sections as they start to continue to gentrify and expand. When you get new highways put in, or they're adding a brand new terminal to the airport, which is going to add a bunch of jobs, stuff like that. So I like Moon Township for sure.
That's great.
Yeah, one thing, are you noticing any slowdown, little sluggishness in these areas? Cranberry is definitely not. Like nobody, properties are not
Cranberry's still
stopping.
going crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. But why I'm asking this is the builders have been talking to them. I got quiet on them. They've been calling me since morning. They can like give me free appliances. They can give me closing costs. Just take. So is there
Hmm.
something happening good or bad or like I have to
I would
research
say
this.
it's more of a macro economy thing with interest rates, and just I think it'd be more of a macroeconomic thing rather than micro and like on a city specific level. I think generally, uh, leasing has not grown as quickly as it has during COVID. I think, we had really high level of increases during COVID in terms of home prices and rent prices and stuff like that. And we've just leveled off. It's natural, but we just leveled off, which is when you start to see, throw in the higher interest rates that some of these builders have. You'll start to see more rent concessions, free rent, throw in some appliances, stuff like that, so they can get things leased up and refinanced as soon as possible. But I think it's generally just, I would venture to say it's not just Pittsburgh, and it's a lot of these newer development properties that went up over the past couple of years. That we've just had a slowdown or a leveling off of the rent increases and leasing activity. And that's when you start to see that stuff. So I wouldn't be too concerned long term. If anything, it's a good opportunity now to, be on the buy side. Uh, but yeah, I would say it's more of a leveling off than a decline. And I think it's a natural part of the cycle. Yeah.
And one more question. Do you or Jeremy work on property management as well, or only
So I've been trying to I float to Jeremy all the time that we should start a property management company because none of them are very good, to be honest. But we do. The owner of our brokerage, Alex Deacon, because I work at Deacon Hoover Real Estate Advisors. That's our brokerage. Alex has owned a property management company as well for the past 20 years or so. So and being in the business we're in on a daily basis, we get to interact with a lot of different property management companies. So we have a couple good ones that we know are solid and we like. Um, there's not a lot of rock star property management companies out there. It's like kind of you pick the one that sucks the least type of thing. But Mace, the company that Alex owns, is good. And then I would say Nulf Management Services, NULF, owned by Dustin Nulf. Those are probably my top two. And then there's a couple others that I have had good experiences working with as well when I'm like transacting a deal and I have to interact with the property manager a lot and coordinate with them. I've been happy with how some of those other companies have operated as well. So I have a list of some that I like and have vetted over the years. Yeah. But we don't
would be
own
great?
one. Because Jeremy, when he first got started in the business, he was managing pretty much all of his clients' properties that purchased. So he was under the Mace umbrella, but he would take on the management for a lot of these properties for his clients because he was starting out and wanted to boost the income and stuff like that and learn. And he got up to like 80 units that he was managing by himself, and he's like, "I'm never doing it again." Like, it's a thankless, low margin business, which is why I don't think you have a lot of really rock star people or companies. It's just a tough business to be in. Um, but there are some good ones out there that do it well. They have the systems in place and the people in place and high integrity, good communication. Um, so yeah, I would say Mace Property Management and Nolf Management Services are like those are the top two I recommend usually.
If you or Jeremy decide to start it, just let me know because
I
when we
mention
are
it
talking
to them all the
about
time.
selling,
Yeah.
I struggle with real estate agents mostly working on primary home buyers.
Yep.
They don't understand investor
Oh
mindset. They
yeah,
try to
it's
go
night
to
and
Zillow
day.
and giving me deal. I can see it myself why I need you. And
Yeah.
similarly for the property management, also people are just doing as a transaction. If it is vacant, it's vacant.
Yep.
But we are not happy when its vacancy is there. So
Yeah.
that mindset, that understanding is very hard to find.
Yeah. I fully agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so that would lead to
Thank
my
you.
question. Yeah, thank you. That leads to my question. If anyone here, or I guess in Futureland, is interested in starting a business, what would be your criteria for being a rock star management group then?
Yeah, good question. Communication is huge. Leasing activity, like a fire needs to be lit under their ass when it comes to leasing.
Yeah,
Um, and something I find with property managers sometimes is like the incentive for them is to get a property leased. It's not to get a property leased at the highest dollar amount. Like so I have property managers where I get frustrated sometimes because they're telling like a client that market rents are $200 or $300 less than what they are. I'm like, no, that's not the case. But the incentive for them is to lease as quickly as possible and get their leasing fee, regardless of whether that is the highest and best use or highest and best rent for that property. So that would be a big thing too. Um, but yeah, communication is huge. Uh, Looking out for the client and their best, like what their goals are with the property, like making sure they're leasing at market rents and stuff like that. And screening tenants, probably it's all the basic stuff. You just have to do the basic stuff really well. Like that's what I would say. Like I'm just gonna do all the things they're supposed to do, but do it better. Like it's I don't think it's that hard, but it is
yeah,
it's a low margin, thankless business, and you're in between tenants and landlords and stuff like that. So it introduces a lot of conflict, you
right.
know? But I would just say I would do all the basic things like 10 or 20% better than what I typically see. That's pretty much it, I think.
That's great to know.
Oh,
Yeah,
I see it. The how I see it, like it's not a different. It's a mindset thing. How we go to the investment advisors. The goal of investment advisor, if I give you like I'm giving you $100,000, maximize the profit,
Yeah.
maximize the growth rate. I think that's my expectation from property management company. Okay, you are giving me your portfolio. Goal for me is to maximize it for you and reduce the cost to serve. So
Yep.
hopefully somebody will come with that mindset or hat someday.
Yeah, I think it's incentive based too. Like I would
Yeah.
I would try to look at it from first principles and be like, how can we align its incentives to make sure the company itself is incentivized to maximize profits for the owner and accomplish their goals with the property and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know if that's how the business is structured nowadays, but
It's not structured. Yeah.
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 So I don't know. That's my thoughts on it, at least.
No, I think the property management companies are more incentivized for the turnover.
Yeah. Yeah, they are.
Right.
I
That makes
mean, a lot of
sense.
them have internal contractors and stuff like that that work for the company, and they probably get most of their margin and proceeds from, when a turnover happens or when that leasing fee happens, not necessarily keeping a tenant in place and happy at market rents.
Right.
It's
Excellent.
interesting though. I have this conversation with Jeremy a lot. Yeah.
Well, I mean, sounds
Good
like we
business
have.
opportunity, I think. Of
Yeah.
course, not to sell to Liam, but yeah, you get the investors. Like if you're good, like they will come to you always for
Yeah,
purchasing something new as well to expand it
Yeah.
further.
yeah. So, I mean, this is a great way to say it. I mean, yeah, I mean, Rashid, sounds like you have a good idea as well. Maybe you should
Mhm.
start thinking about it. No pressure, but no, I mean, this is a excellent. We are at the hour. I know want to keep everyone hostage, but is did anyone have any other questions, any other worries, or something that they'd like to continue with? Zoom user, I see that you're here. So,
I'm just scrolling on realtor.com.
oh yeah, I know. It's one of those things. It's like, I mean, Liam, thank you so much because you've given us a lot of really good items to work on. I mean,
Yeah,
just
it's
for
my
next
pleasure, you
week.
guys. I like doing these.
Yeah,
Anytime, let me know.
Thank you, Ian.
Of course.
great. And so, I mean, all right, I'll count to seven and make sure everyone has their point. Ryan looked like you had something you wanted to say.
No, just saying thank you as well.
Oh, thanks.
Thanks, guys.
And thank you.
Are these like once a month, once every couple of weeks?
The West PA meetings.
Yeah,
We're trying to do it every week. Jack and I are alternating every week. So he'll lead next week. I'll do the week after that. So they are on the
gotcha.
calendar now.
Okay.
So yeah, we're trying to get this one number 7 going on school. So we want to make sure that as Mark and Mikey and Jack and like there's a lot of people in part of the group that are I mean they pulled me toward from Ohio to Pittsburgh. So I got the bug. So I'm glad
Yeah.
there's other folks here that it's like, I mean, I think we have a really good chance to build something bigger, better, out of the Iraq community. And also just, I mean, there's a lot of really good people to speak to here. So,
Yeah,
no,
this is going to be a market for me that I'm just going to have to find one, do it, and
yeah,
then take the licks as they come.
exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I really feel like that this market is base hit central. It's just like if
Yeah.
you get that one property, it helps you move forward. That was my thought with Akron, Ohio. But I mean, the fact that everyone's going there and just driving the prices up insanely, I'm like, okay, I'm going to Pittsburgh. So, like, yeah. But no, thank you so much. And if there's any other points that you're interested in, please join us next week at 3 o'clock as Jack will be here hosting. Thank you, everyone, and have a great afternoon.